Well, hey everybody, this is Jackson Mumey at Celebration Bar Review, and welcome to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. This is episode 15, and we're kind of in the midst of talking to some of our successful Florida bar exam takers from July 2015. So we've got, I picked two or three students that I just thought had remarkable stories. And today might be the most remarkable of all of them. You're going to hear from a man that I really admire and respect, who's got well, I said remarkable. He's got an incredible story, probably going to break your heart a little bit, but he's done some wonderful and amazing things. And I wanted to be able to share his story and the inspiration of his life with you all. So please join me in welcoming the new member of the Florida Bar, John Carter. John, welcome.
Hi, Jackson. How are you? Thank you.
I'm delighted to see you here, and just so glad that you're willing to come on with us today. And congratulations on passing the Florida Bar. It's only been a week now, right, since you got the results? Yeah, and you're still smiling.
Exactly 1 week, exactly.
That's great. Well, we'll talk about that moment of finding out about the bar results in a minute. But let's start back at the beginning, and maybe you could share with our audience a little bit about your background and how you came to take the Florida Bar.
Okay, sure. So I graduated law school in 1990 from the University of Virginia and took the Virginia Bar in July of 1990, passed it. I started working in DC, waved into DC, worked for Skadden and then the SEC, and then got a nice job here in Florida. So moved down here to Florida, got married in Florida, started working for companies. So in Florida, you don't have to take the bar if you don't want to. I had this authorized, house counsel designation for, a long time. Then rose up through the ranks in these companies, was general counsel, chief compliance officer, and eventually was president and CEO of one of them. And then with some corporate restructuring, was severed out and had this big severance package and thought, what am I going to do? So I started a recruiting firm and a consulting firm for a couple of years. Then I decided I want to go back to the practice of law. So now in Florida right now, although it's a lot of controversy going on, there's no reciprocity. So here I was 25 years later, having to take the Florida Bar. And as Jackson would tell you, I was a little bit psyched out about having to take the Florida Bar with people half my age, quite frankly.
Although I got to say, in all honesty, 25 years, you look way younger than me. Okay. So I would never have guessed you for a 25-year-out guy. And of course, my daughter, who's a UVA law grad, she was like, yeah, go John, go John. I don't know, there's something about you guys from UVA. Okay, so there you are. You got to take the Florida Bar. It's been a long time. You've had a very successful career. And now you're looking at taking the exam. What did that feel like to you?
So I was I don't know why, even though I passed it 25 years ago, but somehow I felt overwhelmed by it. Sort of getting back into the study mode, being very disciplined. Plus, I had a lot of things, going on in my life. The first thing I did was, I researched, all the different bar review courses, and that's where I found Celebration Bar Review. And I researched it and read all the online reviews. They were mostly all good. And I thought that this one kind of suits the way I study. And so therefore, back last July, June, I actually ordered the materials from Celebration Bar Review with the hopes of taking the February bar exam.
Yeah. And then things changed. Yeah. And I know this is not easy to talk about, but I think, and I appreciate you being willing to discuss it. You had what I think every parent dreads, and that is the loss of a child. And I don't even know the right words to say, John, but I know that your daughter, Courtney, was very, very special and very special in your life. And I'd like you to share a little bit about Courtney's story and then how that impacted you in taking the bar, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Jackson said, I have three children. Courtney was my oldest. She was a sophomore at Florida State. She was just a remarkable girl, was always one of those kids that, was always disciplined, popular. She was a student ambassador when she was in high school, traveled the world. Her goal was to be a combination of Oprah Winfrey and Tyra Banks. She wanted to be the next media mogul, if you will. She had started her own media company while she was in Tallahassee at Florida State. She was doing a media internship, joined a sorority. But Courtney, around 8th grade or so, I remember she was an avid tennis player, smart, and she started to develop joint pains. And we ultimately, through a lot of diagnoses, my wife was a physician, just couldn't quite figure it out. And then we ultimately got the diagnosis she had lupus. And she had a fairly aggressive form of lupus. But we had it under control. There'd be a couple of hospitalizations every year. But okay, so here she was at Florida State, starting her 2nd year, had done really well her 1st year, which I would expect. And was starting to get sicker and sicker. So obviously I couldn't study for the bar. That was the last thing in my mind. I was taking a lot of trips up to Tallahassee. And then toward around this time last year is when, we started to get very concerned. And then, the disease just got progressively worse. She got a major attack right before Thanksgiving. And on November 23rd, Courtney passed away. And that, ripped my heart out, my wife's heart out, and plus we have 2 other children as well. It was like all of a sudden, this girl that was larger than life, and just, you hear these stories about people pass away, but she was all that. She was just a great soul. If you're ever on YouTube and you Google Courtney E. Carter Media, you'll see some of the most inspiring videos that you ever really want to see. I mean, she was just a bright light, if you will. So here we were, we having to kind of pick up the pieces from that. The community, our church, our friends were very good to us, and you don't ever get over that. You just exist with the pain of it, and every day I think about her. And so, after Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and certainly I didn't take the February Florida bar, and I think I had emailed Jackson, told him that I'd, try to take the July bar and explain to him what was happening. And then at some point, February, March, I had to say, okay, let's start up the bar review again. And
yeah. Yeah. And let me just stop you at that point in the story, because I think it's important to point out that studying for the bar is important, and the bar exam is important, but it clearly doesn't overtake life and family and these other things. And so you stepped out of that role for a while to deal with your family and to deal with the problems and the concerns there. And by the way, we'll link to Courtney's YouTube channel and some other links, because it's inspiring stuff, folks. I mean, this girl was something. I never met her, but I can tell you she was something. And so it doesn't surprise me. The apple didn't fall far from the tree. I mean, you're pretty amazing yourself. But I think it's important to point out that you had to now kind of pivot and decide what you were going to do after this point in time. So go ahead and pick up the story from there.
Thanks. And so one of the things was I felt a way of honoring Courtney and her positive, life and attitude, and how she dealt with her struggles, was to, get back in the game and to go for my dreams. And so thus I, picked up my bar studies and started the celebration, bar review materials. And one of the things I wanted to say here, I was thinking about this, is I think what's unique about the program that you're embarking on, that people watching this, this is that, Jackson pretty much makes it easy for you. Really, he kind of gives you the materials, which are excellent, but he also gives you the roadmap. Now, sometimes we get stubborn and we want to go off, and if he says 4 hours, we might do 6 or 8 or 10. That's just human nature. But in reality, it's kind of all laid out for you. After I took the bar exam, and I went back and I thought about it, and I said, really, here's the cheat sheet. Here are the materials, there are the lectures. But what's really important is he gives you the format. He's go step by step by step. He gives you the topics. He gives you the hours. And you really don't have to exceed those hours, because the bar is not going to test you on every single nuance of the law. It's going to test you pretty much on the big picture. They have to, for the most part. And so I jumped back into it. And there were times where I would sort of get too obsessive with it, and I would talk to Jack, and he said, "Well, I think you need to slow down a little bit. You're racing too far ahead." Because I was psyching myself out a little bit, because obviously I'm dealing with the grief of my child. I'm also sort of thinking about, somehow in my mind, I thought these 25-year-olds were going to be so much smarter than me. I don't know why I thought that. So I just felt like I had to just go for it and just spend as much time on it as possible. And then I would talk to Jackson. He'd sort of bring me back to center. And then I'd say, okay, let me just slow this thing down and just not burn myself out, because it's kind of like a marathon. You have to just do a little bit every day, a little bit when you can, master things as you go along. You absolutely do not have to memorize anything, because the way the thing is structured. I mean, when I clicked the last check box on the checklist, I thought, I think I got this. I think I got it.
I think you got it too.
Oh yes.
Yeah. One of I appreciate that. That's great, and I think that study guide and roadmap, I think that's great advice to people. One of the things that you did, John, was that you used photo reading, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, because I know that's unusual to people. I had Jenny Duclair on the last episode, and she was also a photo reader who passed. But I'd like to hear your thoughts about it and what it was and how it worked for you.
I would say that's another one of those secret sauce kind of things.
Yeah.
Even though I have been a lawyer and been a chief executive, and you read a lot, I would say that I probably was a slower reader, on average, or I would have to read things a couple times, to kind of really, really get it. So what I did at the very before I actually started the bar study is I went through the photo reading course. Mm-hmm. Now, and even then and you don't think it works. You think this is not going to work. It's, flat, moving the pages. But let me tell you something. I got through all those bar materials, and even now, like my wife and I were both reading a book here recently. And she's like, "You're not reading that book." I said, "Yes, I am." It's sort of counterintuitive the way we've been taught all along, but it actually does work if you just do it and practice it and just continue to do it. So that actually is what caused me, because you're going to get a lot of materials from Celebration Bar Review if you haven't gotten them already. But once you sort of pick up the book and you practice photo reading and you pretty much mastered it, or you got the process down, it actually goes a lot quicker, and you can actually flip through all of the materials and really, and it's not just flipping through the materials, but it's actually you're comprehending it. And then Jackson keeps saying, "Well, the law will come to you." It's true. I remember like at the bar exam, first day, first question was a contracts question.
Right.
And, there's a formation argument. There's a mailbox rule argument. There's a parole evidence argument. It just kind of comes to you. And you're like, you kind of feel like you're cheating, but you're not cheating, because it's all somewhere in this crazy thing that God gave us. It works. And you may say, well, he's just saying that Jackson is paying him to say this. No. It absolutely works. So I would say, listen to somebody who just went through it, who has not been in academia for a long time, and who passed the bar. And when I left the Florida bar, you never know, right? But I kind of knew that I if I didn't pass it, I came close. So, and then ultimately, of course, I passed it. But that's a secret sauce. So the photo reading is actually something you really owe yourself 2 or 3 weeks to do before you dive into the real materials.
Yeah, I love hearing that. Jenny said the same thing. It feels like you're cheating. So that and getting people to understand that they can trust themselves and that they've got all that access to the information by doing it that way is a great thing. I know that when you were studying, John, that you were working really, really hard and you were really intense in that process, and that there were moments of just really kind of grinding a little bit, and then you kind of had to back away periodically and recenter yourself. Can you talk a little bit about that part of the process?
Absolutely. So, right, as because it's kind of like I had all the materials, I had everything, but yet it was like that. It's like that belief that this is going to work. I didn't want to fail that exam. So there were times where I would just study all my free time. I was studying. But then what happens is the mind needs a break. It needs a rest. And so I'd have to pull back. I'd have to set things down for a few days, or one time I set it down for a week, and my wife was like, "Are you good?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm good." But that's what I did. So my advice was, sometimes you have to just pull back. If you're just kind of looking at stuff and just answering practice questions or whatever, but you're not really getting it, you might want to just you probably will be more efficient if you just take a step back, listen to your body, go to a movie, go to a play. Do what you like. Take a weekend vacation, off with your loved one, and then come back to it. You'll find that you'll be more productive if you do that. And I certainly had to do it. And also toward the end, Jackson started sending these daily emails out, these inspirational emails, and he was pretty much saying, don't start to kind of relax, and if you're a believer, whatever your belief system is, just start to get tuned with that. And that really helped me too, because the last week or two, I was really I'll be honest, I was in cruise mode. Because I had done everything. I was in cruise mode.
Yeah, you were. I recall that you had gotten through your assignments very quickly and had done them very thoroughly, and the work was passing quality, and I could tell it was passing. And it was sort of like, okay, John, just fine tune, just take it easy, just kind of move gently through this process. And you followed that direction really well. When you got to the exam and you looked around at those younger kids, the ones that you were worried about, what was that like for you when you're actually there and you're kind of seeing the whole thing?
Well, at first, I'll be honest, when you walk into this big room in Tampa, those big clocks in the front, the monitors all around, and you're like, oh my goodness, what have I done? And it's like herding cats. It was like 3,400 people.
Yeah.
You're like, and you hear all these people, they're talking, and at first you get a little bit, I'll be honest, you get a little bit intimidated.
Yeah.
But then after the morning session of the Florida bar, that's the essay session, then you shouldn't do this, you start hearing people, what did you do? And I'm like, oh, I think I'm okay here, I'll be honest with you, because I think that I got a sense that, no, they don't really have any more advantage over me. And in fact, I think I might have an advantage over them, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But then it was intimidation. Then it became like, no, I think I'm good. I think I just got to just stick with my plan and tune everything out as best I can. And that's basically what I did.
Yeah. And then, so we get through the exam, you photo read, you do the multi-state, you do all of that. Now you're waiting for exam results. And last Monday, results come out. So tell us what that was like. I mean, share that moment, if you would, with us.
Absolutely. Thank you. So they had told us that the bar results would be out, I think it was the 21st, which was last Monday, September 21st at 2 p.m. And so here I am in my office, and I'm thinking, I'm all nervous. And so I thought, well, let me just go and run some errands. I'm not going to be able to concentrate. So here I am. running some errands, and then a friend of mine who worked for a law firm in Tampa called and said, the bar results are out already. I guess they put them on the website at 9 a.m. versus 2 p.m. So I'm thinking, should I click on my cell phone and get them, or should I get back to my office and then get them? So I decided to wait. So I quickly ran my errand, got in my car, came back to my office, and you start to click. You have your applicant number, and you find the PDF with your applicant number, and you start scrolling down, and you see some pass fails, and your heart started to race and race and race. And you get to your number, and you look across, pass, and you're like, yes, I passed, I did it. I can't imagine. I mean, the people around my office must thought I was crazy or something. I cannot tell you just how elated I was, given everything that had happened to me with my dear daughter who passed away, with my family. I have 2 other teenagers. I'm also getting my master's of theology here as well, and then running a business. You know, I just felt just so elated. I can't even tell you. It was just like a weight just came off my shoulders. So then I got in I was going to call my wife. I said, no. So I got in my car, drove over to her office. I waited till she was free, came back, and I said, honey, guess what? She goes, what? I said, I passed the bar. And we celebrated, obviously. And it was the most thrilling feeling, with some ups and downs along the way, but that was one of those highlight mountaintop kind of experiences. I did it, but
yes,
you know,
you did. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so proud of you, John. That's such a great man. I love this job. When I get to hear a story like that, I just, and then I got the email from you, and I was like, yeah, I knew he was going to do it. I knew it was going to happen. But it's so great when it does. And what you had to overcome emotionally, and in terms of time and distance, and 25 years, and all of the challenges that go into that, to have that moment of being able to say, I did it, I accomplished it, is just the best. And I'm so proud of you. I don't even have the right words to tell you. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who, like me, probably have not entirely dry eyes at this moment. So as you're talking to people now who might be in a circumstance where it's been a lot of years since they've taken the bar exam, and they're nervous about the process and anxious about what's going on, what advice would you offer them as somebody who's been successful in spite of monstrous difficulties?
Yes. So first, I would say, just take a moment and really believe that you can do it. I mean, you obviously, you finished law school. You're now trying to pass whatever bar you're taking. You found, Jackson. So you really are ahead of the game, really. I mean, because unfortunately, I know a couple people who did not pass the bar, and they, that if I talked to them, when I talked to them a month or so before the bar, they paid a lot of money for their courses and all of that. You would have thought they were shoo-ins. So the first thing I would say is, you're on the right track, because you, like me, you've done your research and you found a course that works. Secondly, try your best to believe in the process. And one of the things that helped me was those first few lectures of Jackson's, where he's setting the stage for the multi-state and telling you how they scored and all of that. But also, he was setting the stage for Florida, in my case, exactly, what you're going to experience with the essays, and what are you going to experience with those multiple choice, and what you should focus in on. So like, if you have that in your mind as you go through the process, you're not going to obsess about every single thing that you miss, because you got to have the big picture. So I would say, when you get those materials, do not sort of fast, go fast through that first part, but to really listen as he's explaining to you multi-state and how it's factored in. Then, like in my case with Florida, the essays, and then the multiple choice, and where you should focus your time. Otherwise, you may wind up spending your time, and it's not going to really help your score. Because I listened, and it paid off. I would say that's some advice that I would give to everybody. And then the last thing is just work the process. Work the process. And also, I have to say this too. We all grew up, let's be honest, we went through law school with Iraq, right? And it took me a long time to kind of get that out of my mind. Issue. And Jackson will tell you, he and I had this battles over my essay. He's like, you missed the point. I'm like, well, whatever. But let me tell you something. When you're sitting there and the proctor says, open your booklet, and you see a contracts problem, and you see a criminal law, constitutional law problem, and you see a torts problem, or whatever it is, and you read it, and you see the arguments, and you start typing away, just making your arguments, plaintiff will argue this, defendant will argue this, and you're not memorizing anything. You're just arguing logical arguments, and then you're done. You're like, yes, and that's what I did. So follow the process. Eat, sleep, and drink fact law application for your essays, and listen to the beginning of the lectures where he talks about the big picture.
Yeah, I love it. I should put you on payroll. Okay, yeah, he's right, folks. Do what John did. He passed. John, it's really been a delight to have you here today, and I know I'm speaking for everybody in the audience when I say congratulations and job well done, and it just fabulous, fabulous outcome for you. I know that you're going to be, as always, successful in the Florida bar and in all the things you're doing, your theology program, your work, your family, raising the two youngsters that you've got with you, and just being an inspiration for me and for probably everybody who's been listening, but everybody that knows you, I think, feels that way. And I know Courtney was an inspiration to you, and she was an inspiration to me as well, being able to watch her videos and kind of get her story as I was first being introduced to you. And so thanks for sharing her life with us, and being really a testimony to her courage and her optimism and her faith. And I couldn't be happier for anybody passing the bar than I am for you. And so, folks, there you've got a successful bar exam taker, probably one of the most successful that we could ever bring before you today. So best of wishes to you, John. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for sharing your story. And we just wish you all the best.
Thanks a lot, Jackson, and thanks for all your hard work. And guess what? Today or tomorrow, I'll be registering my law firm, the law office of John K. Carter. I already got a couple people that want to come see me, so it's wonderful. So dreams do come true. So thanks.
Absolutely, and we'll link up to that firm. I promise in the show notes. All right. Well, listen, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again soon for another chat with a successful bar exam taker. Bye-bye.